Hello, I'm Alastair of electricscotland.com, and I'd like to tell you a little bit about our Domestic Annals section of the website. Essentially, while following all the major histories, you tend to get all the big battles and all of that kind of stuff that came through during that the period in time in history. And the Domestic Annals is basically an attempt to tell you about what life was like domestically in Scotland. This is actually a very big 3-volume publication of that time period, which is, if I remember rightly, it's from about 1545 through to 1780. So it's that kind of time period that you're going to learn about. But in there, the book will discuss a lot of the kind of domestic issues. I mean, for example, when I was putting up the book about the Scots in Germany, it commented in there that about 30,000 Scots, or Highlanders really, had gone to fight for Germany in the 30 Years' War. But in the Domestic Annals, it also talks about that period in that a lot of the women were very concerned about how many young men were going to fight across there in Germany, and they were wondered if how many would come back. I mean, back in those days with maybe 1 million population at that time or something, 30,000 people leaving the country to fight. I mean, that was a ginormous number of people, and all young men, of course, that were going. So the Domestic Annals mirrors, you might say, the general history of that time frame, but tries to lead you into what was happening to the more ordinary people in that period. Again, the page is organized by timeline. So if you're interested in a particular period of time, you can just click on that, or of course, naturally, you can read the entire volumes. I might add that so many people that visit the site also are interested in their clans. And it's kind of interesting if you were finding that your clan was doing something interesting in, say, 1645 or something like that. It can be kind of interesting to go to that time period in the Domestic Annals and get a feel for what life was like and what was happening during that same period in history. I think it adds to your knowledge somehow. I mean, it's a little bit like I am putting up a little bit more information about history in America and so forth, because it's quite interesting that while you learn about the Highlanders in a certain period, it's quite interesting to know what it was the life was like domestically in that period as well, because I think it just adds to your knowledge and understanding of what they went through at that period in history. So anyway, there's the Domestic Annals, a very important publication and a very good one, and I think you'll learn lots of really interesting little facts. I mean, for example, one thing I learned was that in these early days, 1545 or so, we used to have a Robin Hood Day. Now that was quite amazed me, because Robin Hood's obviously an English character, but apparently there was a Robin Hood Day in Scotland, and everyone took the whole day off, and they dressed up in bright yellow and colourful clothes, and they had little mock battles and everything like that, and they had a great old time. And I must confess, when you think back to the old history of Scotland, you don't tend to think that people will be like that, but in fact they were. And we had maypole dances and all kinds of things going on, so quite fascinating and well worth a read. So there you go, that's our Domestic Annals section of Electric Scotland.